All right, we are live. Hello, everybody. Come on in the room. We're just gonna share to our pages before we get started. So come on in and make yourself comfortable. We're gonna have a great discussion tonight. I say that every week, I think, but I'm always excited about our discussions and our guests. So just sharing. Hold on. Just sharing. So come on in. And when you come in, say hello. Let us know you're there. Okay. Let's see. All right. So I have shared it. I think we're good. To our pages before we get. All right. So we'll give it one more minute before we get started. Hey, y'all. Hey. It's going to be a great time tonight.
Excuse me 1 second, Siobhan. Give me 2 seconds.
Come on in, y'all.
All right. I'm back. Sorry about that.
Mm-hmm. All right. One more minute and we will get started. Hello. All right. So we are just going to go ahead and get started so that we can have the full time to have this conversation tonight. So if this is your first time tuning in, I am Siobhan Carter, the You Relationship Coach. And that means I am passionate about all things concerning relationships, especially the relationship that you have with yourself. And tonight, I have the pleasure of conversing with a brother who I have known for a few years. And we were just talking about trying to figure out how we connected. We don't even remember, but we have stayed connected over the years. And I'm excited to have him here tonight. It's Mr. Damon Fair. And he is an author, a speaker, an actor and journalist. He is the creator of two talk shows, Keys to the Crown and Y'all Life Live. And he's also the author of two books, which one we're going to talk about tonight. And these books are available on Amazon. So thank you, Damon, for being here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Siobhan. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolutely. So we are talking about victory over we are talking about, let me get it to it, victory over heartbreak, or just had a brain fart just that fast. So which is the title, Victory Over Heartbreak is the title of your latest book, which was published this year. And I wanted to have this conversation because I think a lot of times we hear about women and their process and their story after heartbreak, but we don't really hear a man share his story, after heartbreak. So I was really intrigued by just the title itself. And then when I read the book, I read it in a few hours because it was a really great read and an interesting story. So I put the link to the book in this description of this video so that you can check it out on Amazon. So please support him because it's a really great read, and I really want other people to read this book. But that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So that's why I wanted to have you on to share your story. So I'm ready to dig into some of these questions that I have for you. Are you ready?
I am ready. Far away. I'm ready.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we're going to walk our way through the book. We're not going to tell you everything that happened because we want you to read it for yourself. But I just wanted to pull out some highlights. So I'm going to start from the beginning of the book. In the first chapter, you talked about the emotional state that you were in before meeting the woman that you were in a relationship, right? And so you wrote that you had a hard time finding a woman who was marriage material. And when you did find your type, you were rejected. which left you feeling a little bit discouraged and undesirable. So tell us about the emotional struggle you found yourself in. Like, did it put you in a more vulnerable state? Tell us more about that.
Got you, got you. And that's a great question, and it's something I've had a chance to reflect on over the last couple of years. But I had issues. I had some self-esteem issues. I had some self image issues, and I think that I just wasn't. I was not in a positive form of thinking when it came to relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, as I sat back and thought about it, I actually had experienced rejection, but I had rejected more people than I had actually been rejected by.
Wow.
So that was kind of like some of what I was dealing with. Also, I think that it was just hard to. I think my standards were unrealistic.
Mm.
I think a lot of guys, even guys in the church, were kind of looking for this Christian Barbie doll that's gonna float out the sky and make us, and we're just gonna fall to one knee and start screaming hallelujah. But
There she is. Thank you, God.
exactly, right. So, but we have to realize people are people. People have flaws. Thank God they do, because we all have flaws. And you don't want someone who has no flaws, because they're going to be quick to see yours,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, those were kind of like some of the issues I was dealing with. So, that was kind of what I thought as I was writing the book. But yeah, I've had some time to think, obviously, since the book has been written. And not only was I actually rejecting some people, I was being rejected, but at the same time, I didn't see when women actually were responding to me in a good way,
Mm.
because I would be because my mind state was almost kind of like a spirit of rejection. So
Wow.
when someone was obviously like saying, "Hey, let's go out, or let's date," or giving me a look, or maybe flirting or something like that, I just didn't catch it. I was thinking, well, she's just making conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So just those are just some of the issues I was dealing with at that time.
Got you. Got you. So you're struggling and you're wrestling with this spirit of rejection, and
Absolutely.
then you go into this event. You go into this Christian
Yes.
singles event, um,
Yes.
and you meet this woman, and you all begin dating. And at the time, what were you looking for? Were you looking for a wife at the time, or what would you say you were looking for?
Got you. Before I answer that, also have something important again, that I just thought about. Whenever I experienced, I've always my entire life been very, very, very sensitive to rejection.
Mm,
So when I experienced rejection, it could have been for a good reason. It may not have had anything to do with me, but that rejection would get magnified 1,000 times.
mm,
So even though you had maybe a few chances or three or four chances over here, this one person rejected you, and I
mm,
would just focus on the rejection and magnify that rejection. And
mm.
that's what kind of devastated me and put me in a vulnerable position. So I just wanted to clear that up.
Yeah. And it makes me think about just men in general. Like, some men have said they've gotten to the point where they don't even want to approach women because of
Mhm.
how much they've been rejected, in the past by a woman. So it's a lot that a man has to go through just to even muster up the courage and the nerve to approach a woman, because of the
Absolutely.
rejection. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So being in the state that you were in, you go to
Mhm.
this event and you meet this woman. What were you looking for at the time?
Well, I'll tell you, Siobhan, I was amped up. I was fired up. I said, yes, I'm gonna find me a wife. Because I had just moved back from Atlanta. I'm like, I'm single. Oh, this is a Christian event too. And let me turn this computer down. So I'm like, yeah, it's a Christian event too. I'm gonna meet some of my homies there, and we'll have a great time. And so I walk in, and I feel like I'm dressed fresh to death, and I'm just checking out the scene, right? So my expectations were pretty high. I really, really have been praying for a wife. I really felt like it was a great opportunity to meet someone equally yoked. And that was my thought process when I walked there.
Hmm. Okay. And so you meet this woman, you all started dating. It's like you hit it off, pretty well. You talk for
Mhm.
like an hour and a half at this event.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then eventually you all started dating. And I
Mhm.
thought it was interesting that in the book you mentioned that, you know, um, you once you began dating, you mentioned not being ready for the commitment. Like, she
Mhm.
approached you about that. You had been dating for a few months and she was like, "Hey, what's going
Yeah.
on?" And you said it was because you liked the time to yourself during the week and seeing her on the weekend. So tell
Mhm.
us more about what was underneath your desire first you said you wanted to be married, and then you get into
Mhm,
this
mhm.
commitment, and then it's like, I don't want to really commit. So tell
Right.
us about that.
Gotcha. So again, an extreme case of having, unrealistically high standards. Also a sense of getting something and then you don't want it as much anymore. You take it for granted.
Wow.
That was another issue that I had real big on that. But also I've always been an introvert my whole life,
Mhm.
and it's something that I just within the last few years was like, I gotta change this because people are really thinking I'm a great guy, and I kind of show up on the scene even in friendships and then kind of disappear and
Mm,
then come back and disappear. So that's kind of like another flaw that I had to work out within myself. So yeah, like during the week, I just really wanted to be alone. I've always been a loner. I didn't know how to be in a relationship, and I didn't know that you have to like take those steps to develop yourself and enjoy the person's company and ease into that.
mhm.
I actually felt like I would get a little agitated, when she was demanding of my time. But really, you have to come out of yourself to be in a relationship. You have to know what that other person wants, and not be a people pleaser or just like be scared and bend toward their will. But you have to do the things that couples do. You have to be able to invest that time, and those feelings and follow up on that.
You said something very interesting that makes me think about, so it's like you wanted it, but when you got it, it was just like the
Exactly.
thrill of it, everything that comes with it, the rush that comes with it is just kind of dwindled away. So it just makes me think about how much do we idealize relationships and being married, and then once we get it, it's like we're faced with the reality of it. You
Absolutely, absolutely, yep. And a lot of people deal with that because, like, once that infatuation stage goes away,
Mhm.
and especially now that now you're dealing with issues, right? It's not all about stars and the first couple of dates and we have romantic time and
Yeah,
I'm showing pictures to my friends and look at this and blah blah blah. We're just
yeah.
having now after the first month or maybe 2 months, now the issues come out and you gotta figure out, okay, I'm not on that love high no more.
Mm.
This is like long-term commitment here that you got to work through stuff. And do you have the maturity to do that? And at that time, I didn't.
Wow, that's so powerful, because how many of us just want the thrill and the rush of the relationship and want to be able, like you said, to share pictures to your friends, but neglect the interpersonal skills that we need, and the interpersonal responsibilities there are to maintain the relationship, like communication, spending quality time, and understanding your partner, and just all those things that we don't realize because we're just looking at the fantasy of it. So,
Absolutely.
wow.
Yep. That's exactly what it is.
Wow. So eventually you get into this committed relationship, right? So you're like, okay, I'm going to commit to this woman. And then Textgate is what you call it. Textgate happened. So tell us about what Textgate is and how you ended up in that situation.
Absolutely. So to all those who don't not familiar with the term Textgate is like a play on Watergate. If you type in Watergate in your internet browser, you'll find it'll show you how President Nixon and the Nixon administration, he had a scandal called Watergate from the Watergate Hotel, where he sent some spies in to handle some business for him, and I think it actually did cost him his presidency. So the Textgate is actually like a play on the phrase Watergate. So there was a controversy with texts that I was sending and receiving, um, kind of like flirty messages. You know how y'all women like to go through your man's phone sometimes. I'm not saying all women. I'm not saying all women, but I think most women have went through a guy's phone, either it was her man, husband, or just a guy that she was seeing at the time or out on a date, right?
Hmm.
So the messages, some of them were flirty, some of them were, but it wasn't only the fact that I was flirting back and forth through my text messages, but some of the times were inappropriate. So she may have seen text messages where it was just general conversation, but because it was at 10 or 11 at night, that upset her, you know.
Hmm.
So I wasn't dating or seeing anybody else, but I have to admit that, some nights I would get bored, while I'm laying there and I can't sleep, send a couple texts or send a text during the day. I was kind of like addicted to the attraction.
Mm,
I kind of was addicted to the validation
yep.
of, wow, this other woman over here thinks I'm attractive. Well, she thinks I'm fine too. So, and that's something that a lot of men deal with because we're very visual.
Hmm.
You kind of have to get that validation within yourself, and you got to get that validation from other sources. It doesn't have to be from women. It could be you increase your salary, you found out about your 401k, you learn some new words out of the dictionary, you learned a new skill. Those are the things that we have to kind of validate ourselves on. Even going out, getting some new clothes in the wardrobe.
Yeah.
The person that you're dating, how does she see you? Is she seeing you as a man of God? Is she seeing you as a man of means and a man that even just has manners?
Hmm.
Those are the things that we have to begin to validate ourselves on, not, this that someone else just thinks we're, good looking.
So okay, so let's back this up, this Textgate
Okay.
situation, right? So
Sure, sure.
at this time you had, what do you, just thinking about you being in a committed relationship, and
Hmm.
deciding to make that decision. So do you think you entered into it hesitantly, and then once you got into it, there was still a desire to, like you said, get the validation from other women? Like, why go into that commitment if you know there was still, that a sense of, I guess, reluctance or
Exactly. I think I was double-minded. I
okay.
wanted the relationship. When I met her, I was very impressed with her. I think I mentioned in the book, even in our first phone conversation, we talked from like 2 to 6 in the morning, like
Hmm.
literally. And she had to work the next day. I was off the next day. I was off on vacation.
Hmm.
So I really did like her. I just think that once the first couple weeks, or I would say even the first month ended, I started to pick her apart. I found every single thing wrong. I don't like this and that, and I don't like that over here.
Hmm.
And it made some of my interest drop. And I was kind of entertaining other options. To be extremely honest, I was entertaining other options. I
Okay.
really was. I'll put it like that.
Okay. So, but you decided to still commit to her. Was it more because that's what she was asking you for?
Yeah, it was. It was because that's what she wanted. It
Mm,
was because I don't know how crazy this sounds, but I wanted to want what she wanted. I just
yeah,
didn't feel it.
yeah.
And the stubbornness and the selfishness that I held inside did not allow me to give myself freely at the time like I should have.
Wow.
And I was actually offended. I was actually offended, Siobhan. I was
Uh-huh.
actually, I had this thing of women telling me what to do.
Okay.
And so I was actually kind of angry and felt like she was too demanding, but she really wasn't.
Got you. Got you. This is so good. I don't know about the other women out here, but this is good to hear from a man's perspective. Just, and I know you're not speaking for all men, but I think a lot of women have gone through this and just always wonder, well, what was happening? You committed to me, and then I find out that you're sending text messages. Like, what is going on? So I think, if nothing else, you're helping us as women to understand what can be going on in a man's mind when these type of situations happen. So
Absolutely.
we have Textgate. So she finds these text messages, and after that, eventually she decides to break up with you. And then a week
Mhm.
after breaking up, she tells you that she's been seeing, or she's seeing someone else. So what is
Mhm.
going on in your mind? How did that make you feel?
All right. So let's go back to that time. At that time, at that time, honestly, when she texted me that statement, I was like, you know what, it's fine. It's more fish out here in the sea. I'll
Hmm.
just move on. I wanted some time to myself anyway. I brought this on myself. It's okay. I'll chill for maybe a couple weeks and then I'll get back out on the dating scene. So I text her back and I was like, if that's what you want. And I was fully, fully, fully intended on move on, like 100% intended on moving on.
Hmm.
And then it took maybe 24 hours to start feeling the burn. I started feeling the pain, and it was like every time I would reach out, I would get rejected or get ignored. or she would basically just reiterate what she said,
Mm,
it would feel even worse. And
mm.
I'm sitting there like, I didn't know it was gonna be like this because I'm so used to, I was so used to like, okay, stuff ain't working out. All right, cool. Let me just move on, or it just wasn't meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
For the first time in a long time, I'm like, wow, this is really, really affecting me. This is really devastating me. I was devastated. Um, maybe counting forward about maybe 2 or 3 days later, I was just like in a full blown depression at
Wow.
that time. It was terrible.
So let me ask you this. Had you ever been broken up with before, or were you the one that usually broke up with a woman?
I would say it's been 50-50.
Okay.
It's been 50-50. Yeah. Never been hurt like that though.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that
Okay.
was pretty bad.
Okay. All right. So she breaks up with you. She tells you she's seeing someone else. You're experiencing these intense emotions, depression. So you're dealing with this heartbreak after the breakup, and then you
Mhm.
come up with the idea to ask her to marry you. And you even consulted with friends and family. And I love just you talk to everybody. Like you were really trying to figure out what to do and just getting advice from a lot of people. And it seemed like there were a lot of signs pointing to not doing it. So
Mhm.
what motivated the decision to keep pursuing the idea of proposing to her?
Well, my mind went back all the way back to her statements about we're not spending enough time. I don't feel loved. All the wrong I had done as far as taking her for granted. My mind went back there, even though it was months ago. I didn't realize it's a new day now. She ain't even thinking that no more. She's moved on. But my mind goes back, and I'm thinking, okay, if that's still true, if there's still a soft spot in her heart for me, this might work. And also, I'm thinking, if this don't work, nothing will.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I was like, well, if she feels that way, then I'm gonna go ahead and do it.
Mm.
And like you said, a lot of the women that knew me and knew my heart, they felt it was a great idea. They really did. But see, they probably because they didn't really know the whole story,
Right,
like I
right,
did.
right.
The fellas were like, no. They're like, brother, do not do that under any circumstances.
Yeah.
So the women and the men would definitely split.
And it's so funny,
I
like
mean, yeah,
when people get this book, when you get this book, you'll probably be talking to the book because, like you said, you're writing it from the whole story perspective. But when you're in it, you're probably telling people pieces of the story so they don't have the full piece. But reading it, it's like, wait, what? And you might be talking to, to the book when you're reading it because so this is my mom. My mom said this is good. This is a really good conversation. And Sharonda says, very deep. Yes, definitely. Very deep conversation. And the things that you're sharing with us about what men go through. So you're trying to figure out and you're thinking about, and it sounds like you may have been in fix it mode. Like, how can I fix it? How can I make it better? And recalling in your mind the things that you may have not gotten right in the beginning and just trying to see if you can move forward and do things differently. And like you said,
absolutely.
not
Yep.
realizing that she had moved on. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Not realizing that she was really, really serious about it.
Okay.
Thinking I had some leverage basically. That's
Gotcha.
what I was thinking. Didn't
Okay.
realize I didn't have any leverage whatsoever.
Hmm. And how long had you been together by this time? Do you remember?
We had been together about a year
Okay.
at
All
that
right.
time.
So this is a
Yep.
year into it. Okay. All
Mhm.
right. So you buy the ring and you tried on numerous occasions to propose to her in person, but
Mhm.
she was never available. So you ended up proposing to her over the phone and she let you know, get this, y'all. She let him know that she was in a relationship and she was happy. What in the world was it like in that moment and then reliving that moment as you're writing this book?
Got you. Well, I would say if I had done it myself, and it's not to blame anybody else, but if I had done it myself, I probably I probably would have just given up and not gone through with the proposal because there were too many signs.
Yeah.
Even when I went to buy the ring, you know, because I had already texted her. She never responded. When I went to get the ring, I think right when I was waiting, I had decided to make the purchase and I was waiting for the cashier to come back. I finally got a text from her because we were supposed to meet up, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Text came through, said I can't meet. I didn't tell her what I had for her. I was just like, I got a birthday gift because we had broke up before her birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was like, I can't meet with you for lunch and I don't feel right accepting the gift. Um, and so at that point, I felt like I might as well give up. It's over.
Yeah.
But again, I checked in with some people who were like, no, don't give up so soon, just get it, you're gonna be all right, I'm gonna walk you through it, whatever. So I knew I could take it back, get my money back.
Yeah.
I had the insurance on it. So I went and got the ring and then like you said, it was just a devastating feeling, Um, it was I was even more devastated because it's something about a rejected proposal. It's something about, even though it was over the phone, which I should have never done it over the phone, but I just felt like it's now or never. Like I'm
Yeah.
not gonna get a chance to meet with her. I got the ring already.
Yeah.
Let me just go ahead and do it and just see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got that, I'm seeing somebody, I'm happy. I heard that in my head for months. I heard that in my head for about 3 months, several times a day, you
Wow.
know, and it was pretty bad, it sent me into terrible depression. I had some pretty cool moments
Mm-hmm.
during the day sometimes, but 80% of my day was spent like full of regret, full of anxiety, full of depression, I felt like was inadequate and worthless. I'd even wake up in the middle of the night, go to the bathroom, thinking about her. Like it was just no escape for months.
Wow.
So it definitely was not a good feeling. But I did take the ring back, get my money back, and
Mm-hmm.
I had to start the process of getting my life together.
Wow. Do you think it intensified the feelings that you already had about yourself? Do you think like this relationship just really triggered those emotions?
It did. It really did. I think that it brought out like here we go again, another broken relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It brought out, there were things in my life that I wanted to get right. Like I don't feel like I was financially where I wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely multiplied that because she was kind of like she was doing well financially. I wasn't. So then I started feeling like maybe I need to lose weight. I started examining everything, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But it really started a process for me to improve and get rid of some old ideas and a lot of issues that I had.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So you've gone through this devastating experience in a relationship, dealing with rejection, dealing with some insecurities about who you are as a man and financially, spiritually, physically. So what happened? What was step one for you as you were going through these months and this woman is in your head and her words are in your head? What was step one for you?
Got you. The first step was the decision to improve my life in every single way possible. Because at this time, again, I had just moved back from Atlanta. I was actually renting a room at my mom's house.
Mm,
I was paying for a car. I had a Lexus, but the interest was high on the Lexus because I didn't have the best credit. And I had just gotten a new job, a new sales job, because when I met her, I was working customer service. So
mhm.
I wasn't making a lot. So once I got the sales job, I'm like, okay, perfect chance, perfect opportunity for me to level up, improve some things. So I started doing everything. I started like learning how to be a better salesperson. I started like dressing better. I started saving my money. I increased my 401k. Not only that, but I started like reading a lot. I started watching a lot of documentaries because I wanted to see people in a struggle or so I would watch like social justice documentaries, stuff like that. Started reading more, but also, I was quite angry. I
Yeah,
started listening to a lot of aggressive music, like because I was angry. I had a chip on my shoulder, so
yeah.
a lot of aggressive rock music, hip hop, um, just trying to get her out of my mind. But I just was working my way through everything. So those are kind of like the first few steps that I took. You
Wow.
know.
So the glow up begins. It's like, wait a minute. about to change everything going on, just but I think it's so interesting how we have to have those devastating situations. And a lot of times it's dealing with relationships. I know for me, it was, dealing with relationships and going through a divorce, but it's like that's when you're introduced to yourself or a greater level of yourself, or deeper relationship with yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I had to see inside myself. I started working on this book immediately after the breakup,
Mm-hmm.
like the next week. So
Wow.
I'd be up like 11 to like sometimes 1, 2 in the morning working on the book and just in my own thoughts, in my own feelings, like you said, like analyzing myself, writing the book, analyzing myself. That's what I did almost every night for 2 or 3 hours, at least between 1 to 3 hours every night.
Wow. And writing about your story is so therapeutic. I know for me, when I was writing my book, Dear Miss Wholeness, it was the same thing. It's like you have to recall all the details, but getting it out of you is so therapeutic because you're releasing all the emotions, everything that you have experienced. So it's beautiful that you were able to do that shortly after because you can write about those raw emotions, that you were feeling. So
Absolutely.
Miss Stokes says, do you thank her for standing true to her feelings? Like, how do you feel about it now?
Got you. I mean, I wouldn't say I thank her. I definitely don't blame her.
Mhm.
Not angry with her at all. Some of her tactics were wrong, kind of drug me through the mud and put some emphasis on it. But um, it was definitely necessary. And even if would have gotten married, I wouldn't have started out as the ideal husband. So those things were necessary to get me to where I am today.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, step one, you started to listen to music, you started to watch documentaries, you started to really explore who is Damon and what do I want to do? How do I want to change my life? Where do I want to go from here? What other things did you do? What was next after that?
Got you. I would also listen to a lot of sermons online, a lot of encouraging sermons like Joel Osteen. He's a good as far as like encouraging. Also, I listen to a lot about Tony Evans. He
Mm,
talks a lot about the character of a man. I couldn't listen to everybody,
yeah,
but certain ministers I kind of gravitated toward. Bill Winston talks about favor and the blessing and the supernatural. What God can do and things like that. But I also listen to a lot of motivational speakers. There's a motivational speaker called Brian Tracy. He's a
mm,
consultant for Fortune 500 companies. Melody Hobson is a financial advisor on investments. And so listening to these people on YouTube almost all day, if I wasn't listening to them, I would be listening to music because I had bought a guitar, which seems like a lot of what people go through once they get their
right.
heart broken, they run out and buy a guitar and start singing sad songs.
Do you know how to
So,
play? You know how to play a guitar?
um, I'm a beginner. I'm a beginner.
Okay.
I practiced for about a couple months and I put it down, but my
Mhm,
plan is to pick it back up because I really want to start again. I really want to start again seriously.
mhm,
But I also got to hit on this and be real is that I started drinking lots of wine
mm,
because I was so depressed, so anxious, and so hurt.
mhm.
I would listen to music and drink wine pretty much all weekend, and so that led to just irresponsible thoughts, irresponsible actions. When you drink wine, you're gonna have an increase in anger, and
Mhm.
so what I learned from that is you have to. The one thing that I was missing is true repentance because
Mm.
I had done everything except repent. My whole thing was like, oh, I'm gonna show her, I'm gonna show everybody. I ain't no loser. I'm worth it. I can get another one, this and that. So like
Mm.
I'm improving all these areas, losing weight, going to the gym, buying clothes, making more money, saving money, paying off my car note, saving up to move out, all this stuff. But I didn't repent. And
Mm.
it took me about maybe another year to truly repent because like the word says, the heart can be deceitfully wicked. I
Mm.
didn't think I needed no repentance
Wow.
until I started like really just kind of, I guess, letting God deal with me,
Mhm.
and that was kind of like the last step I took.
Wow. So the last step was just repenting to God for what were you repenting for?
Absolutely. Repenting for the immaturity as a man, repenting for being selfish, repenting for the whole, tech scandal, repenting for taking her for granted, repenting for all those things, just not being the type of man that I knew God was calling me to be.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
And those are things, like you said before, a lot of those are things that men mask over. Even Christian guys, married guys, we kind of feel like, I got the money, I got the house set up, I'm handling the situation with the kids, or I got her this or that. And the character things are the things that we have to begin to focus on from the inside out. Are you being a man of God from the inside out?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So looking back on everything, what would you tell the Damon then? What words would you give to him if there were somebody that's watching that is in this current situation? What would you say?
current situation as far as being heartbroken or breakup, or
Yeah. Like the mind state that you were in, wrestling
Mhm,
with the rejection, the insecurities, not where you want to be financially. What
mhm.
would you say to that person?
Well, I would say, well, number one, it's gonna your the situation you're in now has an expiration date.
Mhm.
God has already decided that now, or you may or may not be in the church. I'll be open to everybody. So you have the ability to come out of it. What you have to do is you have to be determined to come out of it. And there's a way out. It's kind of like being in a maze. You just have to kind of see your way out, number one. Number two, we get so focused on the person that rejected us. We get so
Mm,
focused. I mean, we become laser focused, almost obsessed with, this is the only one. Like, I'm nothing without this person. This and it. I messed it up and da da da. You got to recognize that this is a whole world that we live in, right? Number one. And number two, that person has flaws too.
mm,
You get to the point sometimes when you go through a breakup, um, especially when you feel like it's your fault, so you don't have the moral high ground to kind of boost you up. You're devastated, and the other person seems perfect. Trust me, that person has flaws.
mhm.
My ex has flaws. I can see those now, right? But at the time I couldn't, because I had elevated my flaws so high. So know that that person has flaws. Know that there's going to be someone you're going to meet, right? That you may even wind up being in love with even more. And you may find yourself, well, wait, you know what? This happened for a reason. But
Mhm.
until you get there, take the time to focus on you. I can't emphasize that enough. When you get to the point, and this is what I tell young brothers,
Mhm.
when you get to the point where you are so wrapped up in your life, you know, you're handling your business. You're learning what you need to learn as far as being a better employee, starting your business investments, developing yourself as a man, going to the gym, having some cool friends, buying a new car, leveling up in whatever way that you want to go spiritually, all those things. When you get to the point where you can actually send a text to a woman and you kind of like forgot you sent it until she responds to it, as opposed to being like, oh my God, is she going to respond to this text? I don't know what I'm going to do. And you're kind of nervous. You keep looking at the phone.
Yeah.
You have won,
Wow.
because society has kind of, I'm trying to think how to put this, but is society is in a state now where they are devaluing men.
Mhm.
They're devaluing masculinity. They're starting to call our masculinity toxic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
And I think that as a man, you have to first know that you are valuable from the inside out. You are enough.
Mhm.
When you're out with your friends and you see a woman walking down the street, you think she's attractive, you're enough. We think, oh man, I got to add this or that. Yeah, you always want to develop yourself,
Mhm.
but the fact that you are a man, that's a great starting point to meet someone new. So to the ladies, hey, listen, to the fellas, that person that rejected you, also, you got to know sometimes it's not your fault. People got issues, man. People
Mhm.
got mental issues. People been abused. They've been scarred. People prejudge people. I remember when I was living in Atlanta and I was trying to date this young lady, and she was really cold at first. But when I took her out on 3 or 4 dates, she warmed up and she just admitted, I prejudged you.
Wow.
You don't know what that person's been through in their life. It's not always you.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe they married and they haven't even told you. And they're
Yeah.
like, man, I can't get involved with this person. It wouldn't be right to them. You
Right.
don't know what's on the other side of that fence. So if you get rejected, even if it's your fault, realize you can move on, spend that time working on yourself, because once you get into a new relationship, it feels awesome to bring something to the table, as
Yeah.
opposed to feeling like this person, they 80% of why I'm valuable. If they
Yeah.
bounce, I ain't got nothing. But
Right.
when you're like, man, I got it. When you're feeling confident and everything's are together and I'm moving in the right direction, now it's like not only are you happy, but they're happier too because you're bringing something to them.
Yeah, and one of the things that you said early on was you realize that, or sometimes when we are going through heartbreak, we tend to laser focus on that person as if
Yeah,
they are the only person in this world. And,
absolutely.
and you get so devastated. That's all you can see. You don't see beyond that. Like this, there are other people. There are a plethora, I like to say, of people for you to choose from, that you don't have to get so bogged down, but we do. We're heartbroken, we don't know how we're gonna make it, and I think it's because, like you said, we have put so much of ourselves into that person. Our
Mhm.
significance, our value, our worth is all tied up in this person. So then when they reject us, it's like, well, what do I do now?
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
that has been my experience. I know when I first experienced like a devastating heartbreak, it just felt like, like you said, it's so important for us to focus on ourselves, and it was like I don't even know how to do that because I've focused so much on men. So how did you even begin to turn the tables from
Mhm.
focusing on women to focusing on yourself? Like how did that happen?
Well, first of it happened just by getting counsel from some wise brothers, some wise married brothers. One of them was a pastor, and them saying, "Hey, Damon need to focus on Damon," you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, it kind of made me angry for a minute. Like, what you mean? You know, I kind of felt insulted. Like, man, shoot, I'm about to go holler at somebody else. but, but I thought about it. Like, you know what? He's right. I got a lot to focus on.
Hmm.
And thank God I learned some sales skills. I became, one of the top 5% salesmen in my company.
Nice.
I found a nice church. I started going back to church. I started listening to a lot of contemporary Christian music in the morning. Kind of got my spirit together. I started playing the guitar. So to answer your question, I just think like taking those baby steps and seeing the reward of doing that made
Hmm.
me wanted to kind of do it more,
Yeah.
you know. And then when you see how when you're meeting someone else, you don't, especially as a man, you don't have to go so hard in like in the pursuit because you worked on yourself. It's almost like you are pursuing each other. You're kind of asking questions and showing your interest. She's doing the same thing because she sees value in you by even just by your conversation. And
Mhm.
that's another thing that made me work on myself more.
Wow. So, as a result of this heartbreak, you talk about victory over heartbreak. So, who is
Mhm.
Damon now? Who has Damon become as a result of going through this heartbreaking experience?
Absolutely. Well, I'll start by doing. I did a lot of personal inspection inside. My prayers have changed, and a lot of the things I started praying was, Lord, I've been praying for a wife for so long. I
Mhm.
forgot to pray about how I can be a husband and a father, because
Wow.
you can pray for a wife, but are you husband material? And
Wow.
a lot of times you're judging everybody else like, oh man, she don't have this or that and this, blah blah blah. But I had to look deep inside and say, wait, a lot of that is just a reflection of what's going on inside me. So I had to pray and be like, okay, Lord, make me more compassionate, make me help me to be, have a level of vulnerability, to be able to get into a relationship. Um, Help me to love more, not be so guarded about, well, if she breaks my heart or what if she does this or that. Some things you can't worry about because I had to realize that you have to have love for the Most High first
Hmm.
before the woman.
Hmm.
And this is for my fellas out there, because we tend to walk around guarded, like, oh man, she might try to, cheat on me or break my heart or hurt me. If you're focused on the Most High and you love Him with all your heart first,
Hmm.
He got you.
Yeah.
He's your source. So to answer your question, that's one thing. Damon has recognized that he's a valuable man. Damon has recognized that I'm a top-notch salesperson. And I say that not to brag on myself, but Just these are the things I confess in the morning that I try to walk in. Also, I'm a speaker and an author. But most importantly, I was always those things, Siobhan. I was
Yeah.
always those things. I
Mm-hmm.
just didn't find the value in it, right?
Wow.
I didn't want to do the work. A lot of times as people, we want to take the easy route,
Mm-hmm.
But once I started doing the work and realizing that, okay, wow, it feels great being mature. Again, many times as men, we run from maturity. We want the because it takes work to be serious about life sometimes.
Yeah.
And so that's who I am today.
Wow. So you know what it makes me think about, and I don't know if you feel this way, but it just sounds like her rejecting you was such a gift.
It really was.
It sounds
Honestly,
weird,
it really was. Yeah.
but yeah, it's like because you have gained so much as a result of it. Now, of course, you could have taken another route. You could have used it to just be an angry black man towards other women and made them pay for what happened to you. And you could have just
Absolutely.
walked around the world with a chip on on your shoulder and just
Mhm.
really spiraled down. And you could have taken that path, but it sounds like you used this, and not to say that it was perfect, because you said you went through your grief cycle and just the things that you had to go through, but it just sounds like you came out a better version of yourself as a result of, like, it caused you to explore more of who Damon is and more
Mhm.
of who you were created to be. So it just sounds like such a precious gift in a interesting package.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I came out much better, and the great thing is everybody sees it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. So, what's coming up next? Like, what do you have going on currently? How can people follow you? Like, what's
Absolutely.
Damon? No, first of all, let me ask this question before you get into that. Is Damon
Mhm.
single, for the women that want to know? Like,
I
not to
am
put you on
single.
the
Yes, yes. I am single at this time. Yes, I am.
spot. Okay, all right. Just for the ladies out there that are watching, Damon is single. He is, going through his process and everything. So, slide in his DM or something like that. But anyway, what what do you have going on right now? How can people find you? All that good stuff.
Absolutely. So, great question to ask. A lot of opportunities have come, it seems like, out of nowhere. Like I said, I started working on a book a few years ago. So the book is out. Like Siobhan said, the book is on not only Amazon, but Walmart, Barnes and Noble. It's on Goodreads. It's on a bunch of different platforms.
Nice.
Got a new book coming out called Monday's Coming, and it deals with success in the workplace, how I became a top 5% salesperson, and also the struggle that came with it. And actually, the breakup carried into that book. That's almost, I
Wow.
won't say part two, but it's a great chance if you read the first book to kind of see it in the second book as well, because that's one of the things I dealt with. Even trying to get up and go to work,
Wow.
it just was not fun.
Yeah.
So Monday's coming. Will be out within the next week or two. My editor has it right now. I'm just doing the proofreading, and so that will be out by the end of the month. Like you mentioned before, I have two talk shows. One is geared more so toward the gospel community. That one is called Keys to the Crown. That's available on Daily Gospel Network. So you can actually go to dailygospelnetwork.tv. It's a 24-hour streaming network. They have all kinds of ministers and speakers on there. And if you have Roku, Apple TV, or Amazon Fire Stick, just add the channel. You can watch it there too. So that's the first show. The second show is called Y'all Life Live. That one's going to be on Pick TV. Pick TV is already set up on Roku. All you have to do is search for it. I think it's called, you may have to add THE, the Pick TV, but I think it's just Pick TV Network.
Okay.
Um, that one is created by a friend of mine, Brother David Evans. Great guy. He's just now launching that. I met him actually through the first guest on my show for Keys to the Crown.
Hmm.
So I got another brother you need to speak with. Spoke to David Evans. He said, "Brother, I need what you got.
Wow.
Let's put your second show on my platform." So that's going to be more geared toward community issues, social justice. Uh, it analyzes news from a biblical standard. So it's still got a spiritual base, but it's kind of more so just for like the mainstream crowd.
Mm-hmm.
So the books, the talk shows, that's pretty much. Trying to think, is there anything else going on right now? That's going to be it. That's going to be it for right now.
I love it. Let me tell you how you have taken this situation, like they said, you have taken lemons and truly turned them into lemonade. And I love everything about it. And so I just love the fact that you're using your story for ministry. You know, you're using it to help other people. You're
Yes.
using your gifts and your talents to move the kingdom forward, to move yourself forward. So I'm just grateful that that you said yes to God and what he's calling you to do, and that you're moving forward in that. So it's just so beautiful to see. And I was wondering, I'm glad you said that you were writing another book, because I'm like, there's got to be some more. It's got to be some more in you. So I'm grateful, and I can't wait to read that book, to see what jewels you and treasures that you have to share. So anything else that you want to share with the people before we leave tonight? Any last words, lessons learned, anything?
Yes, I want to share this. Part of the reason why I had issues in that relationship, in other relationships, I had to kind of figure it out myself, is because I was not pursuing my own purpose and destiny.
Wow.
So whenever I would get involved in a relationship, something just didn't feel right. I would be like, well, nothing's wrong with her. She's beautiful. I would almost be lonely and depressed when I was with the person.
Mm.
And so I had to really think about it, and I had to really analyze it over the span of months, maybe in over a year. And once I started getting active with what I'm doing now, that's exactly what it was. Siobhan, I don't think I would have ever been happy in a relationship if I was not doing what I'm doing now. I don't think I would have been happy at all, period, because something was always missing. I was always depressed. I always felt like something was missing. But like you said, I didn't want to say yes to God. I
Mm-hmm.
was so busy out here, working as a salesperson, having my extra cash, going out on the weekend, doing this, doing that, thinking, I'm the man and I'm improving my life. But it wasn't until I said yes to God and started pursuing His purpose for my life that the joy and peace came back into my life. So now I'm relationship ready. Had I not done that, I don't think I would have probably would have never even had a successful relationship.
Let me tell you how you are talking good to. I wholeheartedly believe that if you don't know why you're here, and if you're not being about the business of pursuing your purpose and walking in it, then there is something in you that always feels unfulfilled, right?
Absolutely.
I
Yep.
I
Yep.
totally get that, because I remember those times when I wasn't clear on what my purpose was, and it's just like I had this sense of unrest within me. And even in those times of knowing what my purpose was, and when I wasn't fulfilling it, when I wasn't doing it, it's
Mm-hmm.
like I just didn't feel good. I just felt
Absolutely.
low. I felt depressed. I felt,
Mhm.
unfulfilled in relationships, like you said, like looking for that person to make me happy, knowing that,
Absolutely.
it was just something that was unresolved within me, and that you have hit the nail on the head. Like, that's what it is. So if you
Yep.
are
Yep.
listening, get about the business of figuring out why you're still here and do it. So,
Absolutely.
Miss.
And absolutely, and Siobhan, that other person is gonna find you so much more attractive, especially for my fellas.
Mm-hmm,
And when a woman knows you're a man of means, and
mm-hmm,
you can go into that conversation, not trying to brag about this or that, or just talk, whatever. When you can sincerely say, hey, I'm doing this. This is my mission. These are my goals. This is where I'm at, and I'm making progress. Now you become so much more attractive to the sister. It's not about bragging about finances or your car. It's about, this is what I'm doing in the community, or this is my mission at work, or I got this promotion. I think I can, really help the workforce. Those type of things from the heart.
mm-hmm.
That's what really impresses a woman.
Absolutely. And so Ms. Stokes says this is very inspiring. Thank you for sharing your story. Absolutely. So I wholeheartedly agree with what you just said. One of my girlfriends that was on the show a couple of weeks ago, we always talk about a man with a vision and a goal is so attractive. And I don't know if men really realize that, because especially if you desire to be married, if you don't have a vision, if you don't know where you're going, how can a woman come in like, where y'all going? What you doing? What's happening? Where I'm gonna follow you to. I'm gonna have my
Absolutely.
own vision, but hopefully our purposes and our visions can come together and be combined. So it's like, if you don't have one, I don't want to be pulling you along. We want a man that can lead and knows where he's going. So I think it's beautiful that what you're saying is very attractive when a man knows who he is, whose he is, and what he's on this earth to do.
Absolutely.
So, well, you have blessed us on tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. So glad I could be here. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So thank you all for tuning in. This has been Relationship Talks with Siobhan Carter and my special guest, Damon Fair. So I have put his book, the link to his book, at least on Amazon, in this description of this video. So please check it out. Support this brother. He's doing amazing things. So I love when people are doing amazing things. So support what he has going on. And if you want to follow him, look him up on Instagram. What's your name on Instagram or Facebook?
Instagram is king.damonpaul. You can reach Keys to the Keys to the Crown page at facebook.com/King Damon Show.
Okay. All right. So look him up and we'll put that in the comments as well so people can follow you and just check out the things that you're doing. So thank you so much, my brother. It was a pleasure having you. And thank you all for watching. And next week, we're going to have our guest from last week on the show. We're going to have part 2 of Convo and Chill. So it's going to be an energetic conversation. So looking forward to that discussion. But until then, talk to you later. Good night.